Well, hello, 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 my good friends and family here on the Lamb Network. And it is great to be with you this evening. And we're going to be continuing on in this amazing journey in the Book of Enoch. And I hope you've been enjoying that. And I know I say that a lot probably, but yeah, it's live. We're live tonight. It's not a replay or anything like that. It's live, and we're posting everything. By the way, we're over there on the Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel. We have a page all set up for Enoch. It's called Walking in Spirit of Truth. The Enoch series, I think, something like that. You'll find it, and spread the news. Make sure you take this and like, share, subscribe. I know we got a couple of likes in there. Go ahead and mash that thumbs up and help us out there. We'd certainly appreciate that. And let people know. So what? How many people know about Life of Worship Ministries? Spread the word. Let them know. We have Shabbat services where we have the Torah portion at noon Central Time, and we love having everybody that's in there in the chat, the comments, and being connected. Hey, Al, it's good to see you. And so that's at noon on Shabbat, and then at 3 p.m. So following the Torah portion, we have what we call our encounter service. Oh my goodness, have we been having some encounters here in Amarillo, Texas. It has been something else. And who was I talking with about? I think I might have been talking about this on Shabbat. It's like, and probably Eddie and Tammy probably a week ago, because we didn't have Let Us Reason together this week because I was like just really still covered up. But we're talking about how when one comes in synced with this biblical calendar, this priestly calendar, it's like everything else comes in synced. And I'm thinking, how many times do we have those special services and maybe even feast days or other times like that. And it's like, but it was just like, oh, I want another one like that. And we had to wait for a while. And Eddie and Tammy were talking about, this is all about when we synchronize with Yah's calendar. It's just everything just continues to flow. There's just a blessing. So I'm liking it. Let me just say, here we had prayer on Monday here at Life of Worship right here. And again, it's I really believe that those times of that prayer and the worship and the intercession and even times of prophetic words and prophetic prayers during that time, I really believe it's part of what is allowing for the very presence of Yah. I hate the term. Okay, my vocabulary is not the greatest. It's not like we're allowing the presence of Yah in the house. It's just that it's just magnified. I don't know, just saying it's magnified. So this is it's a very interesting time, and it's really exciting. And the more that I dig into these to the library of the priesthood, the ones that was gathered up. Did you hear what I said? In fact, on Shabbat, this is a totally different rabbit trail, but I had learned, and I want to learn more about it. But in 197 BC, yeah, 197 BC, there was a visitation of Yah on the Zadokite priesthood. So the Zadokite priesthood has this, they have this visitation in 197. And in this visitation, they're told that in 20 years, they are to flee Jerusalem because some really bad things were going to happen. Well, so in 177 BC, what happened? They packed everything up, and they packed up the library, and they left Jerusalem. In fact, they went down to Egypt, and they waited for times to pass, because it was right there on the heels of them leaving is when Antiochus Epiphanes showed up, and all of his terror, his rule of terror, where he's slaughtering people. They had that prophetic word because they had a visitation of the Most High. All right. Now, for me, I just think that would be amazing. Wouldn't that really be cool? Wouldn't it be really cool that you and I, as we are gathered together, that there is a visitation of the Most High? I don't even know if I'd have words to describe it, or what I would do. I mean, I don't know if I would be like Abraham, like when he had the visitation, the three visitors, and it's on the third day of circumcision, and he just like gets up and started serving them, and he tells them to go, go kill a calf and go do this, and then feed them, get the bread on. And I just wonder what would it be like? What would we do? I mean, what would our reaction be? So yeah. And what about, you're right, Eddie, Tammy, you said, what about that visitation to tell us to head out on the second Exodus? Now, that would be really amazing. And so, but think about this, a 20-year warning, a 20-year warning. And it also makes me wonder, considering that it was around 2009 when the end of the Northern Kingdom exile had come about, and it was right around that point in time that a lot of people also had their eyes opened up to these principles of our Hebraic roots, and all of this journey that we've been going on. Well, all right, did you know that 20 years will be up in 2029? I just wonder if there's a pattern. But I don't know if, that was a visitation of the Most High. I really believe it's a visitation, but it wasn't the Christophany, like what is, that theological term where it's like, here in the Old Testament, this person shows up and it is in the type and character of Yeshua the Messiah. So it's pre-Yeshua in the Old Testament, and then he shows up in the New Testament, and then he shows up after his ascension in a lot of different places, like even in Iran, where there's a lot of people that have a visitation in the middle of the night. They go to sleep as a Shiite Muslim, and then they have this encounter in the middle of the night, and they wake up as a believer in Yeshua as Messiah. I mean, visitations like that are being recorded. And so it really makes me, think, okay, there's these big visitations. There's this like an awareness, a spiritual awakening type of visitation. And then there's like these one-on-one visitations. Don't you want to just say, give me more? I want more. I want more of that. All right. So, hey, Enoch. Okay. So I mentioned those things. Oh, giving. Yeah. So if you haven't had an opportunity and, you want to connect with us financially as well, we'd certainly appreciate that. So thank you so much. Those that have been giving online, those that mail, using the postal service to mail in your gifts, your offerings, tithes, however it is that the Father's leading you to give, and just financially partnering with us, and so that we can just continue to make things happen. And so that's good. And I want to say thank you. You can go to our website, and let me see if I can throw up a banner. Okay. Throw up a banner. That sounds really weird. Okay. So I'm just going to place a banner here on the bottom of the screen. You can see it on this little ticker. That's our website. You can go to www.lifeofworshipamarillo.org, and you just click on the donate button, and it'll connect you to our PayPal account, and you can give online. So it's probably the easiest way. But on our website too, you can see our mailing address, and you can mail a gift that way. We certainly appreciate that, and because boy, we really put it to good use. So just saying, there you go. Enoch, are you ready? I know, here we are, like 12 minutes in, and we haven't got to Enoch. Do you remember what we talked about last time when we were talking about this adventure that Enoch had? And he was like, I won't say he was in Sheol. That's where he was. But at this point in time, and, it was just a part of Sheol, hell, Hades, whatever you want to call it. It's a place where even the 200 fallen are being kept imprisoned until the judgment, and then they'll face their final judgment. And so we went through that, and a lot of the different elements with that. So we're done. We're done with that. Enoch is continuing on a journey. We're going to go with him. And so if you've got your version of the Apocrypha where Enoch is located. So let's see, the Oxford Revised Standard Edition has it in there, and the Catholic, if you got a Catholic Bible or an older version of the King James version, you'll have it in there. And but I'm using the Sefer. I know I've held this up before, but I'm using the Sefer. There we go. It's backwards. Okay, so that's the Sefer edition. Dr. Pigeon and his publishing group has put that together, and so we're going to jump over now to chapter 23. Chapter 23. We're going to talk about some trees. Trees. By the way, we did some tree work, working our peach tree. We have a peach, man, I should have gotten some pictures. We have a peach tree that we planted, I don't know. It was probably already 2 or 3 years old when we planted it. And so this is like the 4th year that we've had it in the ground. So it's like 7 years old by now. It's looking really good. And but in here in the Panhandle of Texas, what happens? It warms up in the spring, and then the blossoms come out, and then we get a freeze, and it freezes the blossoms off. Well, we wrapped that tree up when the blossoms came up, and we know, hey, it's getting cold. There's 2 occasions we did that, and we put covers around the tree, and we preserve the blossoms. And guess what? We have fruit. Our peach tree has big, red, juicy peaches on it. I'm telling you. I mean, big. I mean, the skins are beautiful red, and we today I had to go out there and wrap a bird netting around it because the birds were finding the ripe ones and pecking on them and eating on it. So anyway, we put the bird netting on it so we can preserve the rest of it. I bet you we probably have maybe 3 dozen peaches on this tree. It's totally awesome. I mean, this is the first. Last year we lost all of our blooms. We didn't have 1 peach, but this year we have it. And so, all right. So, okay, here we go. So the trees, and we're going to talk about some of the trees. And we know that trees have there's a big discussion about trees throughout the scriptures, right? Well, we have a big discussion going on here with Enoch, and he makes inquiries about it. So I think that's interesting. And fruit trees and nut trees and all of these things, they're given to us as food, right? Remember Genesis chapter 1, it's given to us as food. And so we're going to dig into this a little bit more. So let's get there. Let's chapter 23 of Enoch. And it starts out, and from there, talking about he was like in this place in the earth. He says, from there I went to another place towards the west unto the extremities of the earth. So he's on this journey. And it says, where I beheld a fire blazing and running along without cessation. So he's going to an extremity of the earth, and there's this fire that's blazing, and it's running along like it's a continuous fire. Now I'm thinking, think about the things that Enoch has seen. Is it fire, or is it something that's so bright and shimmering? It's like fire, but not fire. It's not like lava coming down a mountainside, or is it? Well, let's look. Which intermitted its course, neither by day nor by night, but continued always the same. So, in other words, it didn't stop. This river, this fiery river, this brilliant looking fiery type of river it's just continually flowing. Nothing stops it day or night. It's always going. And he asks the question. He says, I inquired, saying, what is this which never ceases? Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who were with me, answered and said, this blazing fire which you behold running towards the west is all the luminaries of heaven. See? Now, all of the luminaries of heaven, I think about the stars. I think about our sun. So, and our sun is like a blazing fire, right? So all the luminaries are like blazing fires. And I'm thinking, okay, what dimension is he seeing this? Because, well, think about this. Think about how he's describing this thing. And it's almost like he has supernatural eyes. But have you ever gone out on a clear night where there's no moon and there's no light pollution from the earth, and you look up in the sky and then you see the Milky Way? Right? So doesn't that make sense? Is he like seeing like the Milky Way? Because science has proven with these high powered telescopes that this Milky Way, it's almost like a fiery, but if you were to zoom in on them with a telescope, you can see that they're luminaries, right? Lots of stars. And so your version says, which persecutes all the luminaries of heaven. Oh, what's that about? Huh. Isn't it interesting, the difference in the translation? I don't have words for that. Persecutes. Okay, is that like King James, language? Persecutes. I mean, what does it mean? Someone look that up. Persecutes. King James we need a 1600 Oxford dictionary and see what it means. Yeah, it really kind of makes things totally different sounding. All right. So if someone look that up, and if you can pull up like an old dictionary and see what persecutes mean, because I know what it means in 2024. Persecutes, like someone just persecuting you for your faith, your beliefs, for your stance, even your political beliefs and all of that. I mean, we know what persecutes means there. Yeah. And if anybody has a different version, right? Yeah, like if you've got the Oxford, I've got the Oxford in the other room, but I can't leave the screen. I could look it up and see what it is. I don't know. Makes me curious. Okay. Somebody look it up. Okay, here we go. Let's go on. But all right, so this is a short chapter. We're going into chapter 24 now. And it says, I went from there to another place, and I saw a mountain of fire flashing both day and night. So now we have a mountain of fire. So we had like a river, like this fire blazing, running along without cessation. It's almost like a river of fire. And then now we have this mountain of fire flashing both day and night. Are they connected? And they must be. That's some type of connection, because he's kind of still talking about it here in the same thing. I proceeded towards it and perceived 7 splendid mountains, which were all different from each other. Their stones were brilliant and beautiful. All were brilliant and splendid to behold, and beautiful was their surface. 3 were towards the east, strengthened by being placed one upon another, and 3 towards the south, strengthened in a similar manner. There were likewise deep valleys which did not approach each other, and the 7th mountain was in the midst of them. So he's looking to the east, there's 3. He's looking to the south, there's 3, and there's a 7th mountain. So there's 3 is 6, and on the 7th mountain, it says it was in the midst of them, so in the middle. So, and in length, they all resembled the seat of a throne. So he's describing what he's seeing as mountains, and then this 7th mountain that resembles a seat of a throne. I bet she's like, what's going on? Why does it look like a throne? All right, he's going to go on and describe some more. In length, they all resemble the seat of the throne, and odoriferous trees surrounded them. Odoriferous. That's a word wealth word. I had a book in my English classes, junior high and high school. It was called Word Wealth, and where we just learned vocabulary. It was called Word Wealth. Odoriferous was one of those words. I remember that word in Word Wealth. Odoriferous trees surrounding, an unceasing smell. So it's quite fragrant. Fragrant trees surrounding, nor of those which were in Eden, was there one of all the fragrant trees, which smelt like this. Its leaf, its flower, and its bark never withered, and its fruit was beautiful. Its fruit resembled the cluster of a grape. No, I'm sorry, a cluster of the palm. Okay. I exclaimed, behold! I like this. You know, the behold guy in the Paleo Hebrew. Whoa, hello. Something's being revealed. But he's also like, it's like, well, I'm really excited about this. This tree is goodly in aspect, pleasing in its leaf, and the sight of its fruit is delightful to the eye. Huh. Interesting. It's kind of like the cluster of the palm. So I'm thinking the palm, like it dates, like the dates on a palm, maybe. It resembles that. I don't know if it's got big old palm branches and palm leaves, palm fronds, on it, but I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thought, but it smells good, and it's flowering. The bark smells good, and the fruit smells good. The leaves smell good. It all smells good. All right, and it says then Michael, so Michael, one of the holy and glorious angels, who were with me, and who presided over them. So he's the chief angel. Talk about powers and principalities. This is like the good guy, power and principality. Answered and said, Enoch, why do you inquire respecting the odor of this tree? Why do you inquire about the odor of this tree? It's kind of a strange question. Are you inquisitive to know it? Of course, Hanok replied to him and said, concerning everything, I'm desirous of instruction. Yes, he said, yes, I'm very curious. All right, just fill me in, Michael. And but particularly concerning this tree, he answered me saying, that mountain which you behold, the extent of whose head resembles the seat of Yahweh. Okay, whoa, check that out. Will be the seat on which shall sit the holy and great Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, of glory, the everlasting King. By the way, when I say Yahweh, I saw a teaching the other day about that, and there's a pagan name that I guess in Canaan. I haven't studied this out, whose name was Yahweh, and I am not making reference to that. And if anybody's picking this up on YouTube and saying, oh, you keep saying Yahweh, you're referencing a pagan deity, just, all right, I'm not. And I'm just want to say Yahweh. Some people will say Yahuwah. I think Yahweh is probably a more correct pronunciation, but we are all on the same page, right? Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, the tetragrammaton. Do I just need to say that? Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh? Seems kind of weird, but I'm not trying to diminish the name of Yah when I say these things. And so, all right. Okay. All right. Yeah, right, Linda. That name you understand, right? We're just trying to have a commonality because this is the Most High, the glorious one, Yahweh of glory, the everlasting King. There's no substitute to him, right? It says, when he shall come and descend to visit the earth with goodness. So it's that mountain resembles a throne. That's a pretty big throne. Okay. And that's when Yahweh of glory, the everlasting King, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, comes and descends and visits the earth with goodness. That's where he's going to come down on. So, yeah. Mine says fragrant trees. Yeah, fragrant, odoriferous. They're synonyms. Okay. So, and that tree of an agreeable smell, this agreeable fragrance, not one of carnal odor. There shall be no power of touch until the period of the great judgment, when all shall be punished and consumed forever. This shall be bestowed on the righteous and humble. The fruit of the tree shall be given to the elect, For towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place, and toward the habitation of the everlasting King. Then they greatly rejoice and exult in the Holy One. The sweet odor shall enter into their bones, and they shall live a long life on the earth as their forefathers have lived. Neither in their days shall sorrow, distress, trouble, and punishment afflict them. And I blessed Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahweh of glory, the everlasting King, because he has prepared this tree for the Kedoshim, the holy ones, formed it and declared that he would give it to them. Oh my goodness. All right, so it's a tree that's being reserved for some time in the future. So now, okay, you know why the birds eat the peaches? They don't even touch the peaches until the peaches are ripe, and then the peaches begin to release a fragrance, and the birds are like, I like that smell. That's really good. And so they get on the peaches and they start to peck away and try to eat a little bit of the peach. Well, and so here's Sandy and I out in our yard, and we're like, are the peaches ready? Well, the birds are eating them. And she said, well, I looked this up. The peaches aren't ready until they have a fragrance about them. So we're over there smelling the peaches on the tree. Well, I don't smell them, but the birds smell them. And so we're like, well, let's protect the peaches until they're just right. And they're just a little bit soft at the point where they connect with the tree. And then you just twist them off. But so here's this tree, and it's reserved for the righteous and humble. I want to be in that number because I want to see this tree. Nobody else gets this tree. Nobody else gets to eat of the tree. And then it says, and it comes when the King sets up his throne on the earth. That is so cool. So he comes, and then we have all these people that are on the earth, and then we get the tree. Well, you can pick the peaches when they're a little green and put them and ripen them in a box, but they're not as sweet. So it's like we're trying to nurture the sweetness as long as we possibly can on that tree. Then of course, like, we got to eat 3 dozen peaches all at once. No, we're going to can them. We're going to preserve them. We're going to do something. We're going to freeze some of them, and we're going to eat a bunch of them. So anyway, I had a peach today. It was so good. It was sweet and juicy. Okay. All right. Makes me hungry. All right. So going on. So I'm just thinking about this. And so when he comes, there's going to be trees. And we just have one tree, and it self-pollinated. I don't know. It pollinated itself. Okay. Something happened, and so we have fruit from it. And so, but get this, there's this benefit. So here's this throne. It's a mountain, looks like a throne. And then the King of Glory comes down and brings the trees, and the people that are humble and righteous get to eat of the trees. And then it says, I think this is the advent. I think it's the advent of Yeshua coming and establishing his rule and reign 1,000 years upon the earth. I think that's what he's referring to. So he's getting this prophetic picture into the future. Isn't that like Enoch? He's seeing these things on this realm, these multi-dimensional realms, and now he's getting this realm about the coming of the King of Glory, setting up his days to rule upon the earth. And when he rules, there's no more sorrow, distress, trouble, or punishment afflicting the people. That's really cool. And they get this fragrant aroma shall enter their bones. Okay. All right. So where do we see within the scriptures about a fragrant aroma upon Yah's people? I mean, think about this. A fragrant aroma that's on Yah's people, and it only comes when the King comes. I'm wondering if this is like an Esther connection. The bride who prepares herself, and in the preparation of herself, she does all of these baths and soakings in these essential oils and these aromas. Literally, she's soaking so long it infuses her body. And then you think, well, is Esther really a book that should be in the canon, or not be in the canon? And I don't think they found a copy of Esther in the priestly library that they found in Qumran. I don't think they did. I could be wrong, but I don't think they did. And so it's been debated because the name of Yah is not in the book of Esther, and yet has been included. So because it brings a wonderful story, and yet I think about the bride and the aroma, and here the tree is brought along with the King of Glory, and the fragrance, this sweet odor, enters their bones. Now tell me, all right, okay, Linda, tell me, does it say that this sweet fragrance enters their bones? What's it say in your version? Because this is really interesting. And they shall live a long life. It's like it's giving them long life, just like your forefathers have lived. Now, this is who? Michael? Michael is telling Enoch this, and we're getting all these glimpses of the garden. It's almost like this is the tree of life. I mean, think about Adam and Chava. I mean, they lived 1,000 years, right? Well, I don't know about Chava because the scripture is silent about it, but that he would live a day. A day is 1,000 years a day. And surely on the day that you eat of this fruit, you shall die. You shall surely die. And he lived about 1,000 years. And then, but so did his descendants. They all lived. They had these really long lives. And even after the flood, Noah lived a long time, didn't he? It tells me over here in Revelation chapter 22, and he showed me a river of the water of life, clear as crystal, coming from the throne of Yah and of the Lamb, in the middle of its street, and on either side of the river was the tree of life, bearing 12 kinds of fruit. Actually, that was added. So bearing 12 fruit. So yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. So it makes me go, very interesting, right? To establish this tree on the earth during the rule and reign of Messiah. And they're all having a good time because there's no sorrow, no distress, no trouble, no punishment. Can you imagine that? That is just really amazing. It's really amazing to me. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Wouldn't you like to have a visitation? I mean, here's Enoch. He's got a visitation with these holy angels. I mean, remember, he's on a tour, and there's a whole bunch of them with him. I mean, we listed them earlier on, and there's a whole bunch. They're all with him, and they're taking him on this tour. Like Dimitri Duduman. Dimitri Duduman had a tour. Chapter 25. We're ready to go to chapter 25. It says, from there I proceeded to the middle of the earth, and behold, a happy and fertile spot. So this must be pretty nice. Okay. I kind of think of our backyard. Our backyard's a happy, fertile spot because we got beautiful garden just growing up. All right. It's a happy, fertile spot, which contain branches continually sprouting from the trees, which are planted in. Some more trees. There I saw a holy mountain, and underneath it water. On the eastern side, which flowed toward the south, I saw also on the east another mountain as high as that. And between them there was a deep, but not wide valley. Water ran towards the mountain to the west of this, and underneath there was likewise another mountain. So I don't know. It's like a mountain under a mountain, or like in the shadow of the mountain, there's another mountain. I don't know, something like that, but not a wide one below it. And in the midst of them were other deep and dry valleys, deep and dry, not like deep and wide, deep and wide. No, this is deep and dry valleys towards the extremity of the three. All these valleys, which were deep but not wide, consisted of strong rock with a tree which is planted in them. And I wondered at the rock and at the valleys, being extremely surprised. Well, why is he surprised? Well, chapter 26, he says, then I said, what means this blessed land, all these lofty trees, and the accursed valley between them? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who are with me, replied, this valley is the accursed of the accursed forever. Oh, here shall be collected all who utter with their mouths unbecoming language against Elohim and speak harsh things of his glory. So if you're listening online, you don't know Elohim, that's talking about Yah, God, the Most High. And so speaking harsh things of his glory. Woo. Here shall they be collected. Here shall be their territory. In the latter days, an example of judgment shall be made of them in righteousness before the Kedoshim, against the, before the holy ones. So the believers, right? While those who have received mercy shall forever all their days bless Elohim, the everlasting King. And at the period of judgment shall they bless him for his mercy, as he was distributed, or for his mercy, as he is distributed to them. Then I bless Elohim, addressing myself to him and making mention, as was meet, of his greatness. So I think he's pondering these things. And wow. Well, nevertheless, Elohim, you're great. You're really cool. I really like you. Like you a lot. You're worthy of all greatness. So, all right, just a little adding to this. But hey, yeah, the Hallelujah Scriptures Bible. I think it's an interesting version. It's pretty cool. I don't have a version of that, but it's pretty cool. I like it. So I always like to balance out all these different scriptures, all the different versions, translations against each other. Learn a lot that way. And okay, so mercy and wow. So I'm wondering, the 1,000-year reign of Messiah. So there's the grumpy ones, the ones that were like, well, I can't believe that Yah is doing this. How many times does it say in the book of Revelation that still they didn't repent and they cursed God and they didn't repent? And yet somehow it looks like, there's the survival of even these ones that curse God in the midst of all the plagues and the tribulations and all of the garbage that's going on in the earth. And they shook their fist at Yah. And I'm thinking, I wonder if that's them. It's not time for their judgment. They're survivors. They survived, and they're collected and they're gathered together. They get their own Exodus. Yeah. So they're collected and gathered together, but they don't get a very nice place. They're going to these dry valleys, and in these dry valleys, it's a harsh place because they spoke harsh things against the Most High. And of all things, there's a tree growing out of a rock. They get a tree. Yeah, but not the tree that the righteous ones get. Just think about this. It makes me think, always have the opportunity to give Yah the glory, even when things are tough. Don't curse him. Don't shake your fist at him. Say, Father, I thank you that there's more than enough mercy. And guess what? It says that the Kedoshim, the holy ones, the righteous ones, they continually get mercy poured out on them. That's good, because remember up there, chapter 24, because there's not going to be any sorrow, distress, punishment, trouble for them. I don't think it's the same for those that cursed God before, but they got to wait until the judgment. So they're just going to be waiting it out for 1,000 years. In fact, are they going to live through 1,000 years living in a dry and barren place? They're just made to they're forced to live like that. Yeah. I like that, Luann. Give mercy, you get mercy. That's a good point. It's that you reap what you sow. How about going on to chapter 27? We're moving pretty fast along here now. From there, I proceeded towards the east in the middle of the mountains, in the desert, the level surface, only of which I perceived. like the Mojave Desert. I think about the Mojave Desert where it's in those areas, it's just like flat, just flat desert. Okay. And only of which I perceived it was full of trees of the seed alluded to, and water leaped down upon it. And there appeared a cataract composed as if many cataracts, both toward the west and towards the east. Upon one side were trees, upon the other water and dew. So how's that a desert? I'm in the middle of the mountain in the desert. So he's like moving right along into this other place. Now there's water, and it's flowing water. Like I'm thinking like whitewater water, you know what whitewater rapids are, and they're flowing down this mountain, and along the side of the mountain are trees, and then there's other water and dew. So you got the trees, and then you got some other water, and then dew on the ground. Okay. All right. So we've seen that. Then I went to another place from the desert towards the east of that mountain, which I approached. Now I'm getting totally mixed up and lost. I have to have a map. I need a map. I need Enoch's map and walk through from east, west, whichever direction he's going. But okay. So he now get this. There I beheld trees of judgment. Particularly the sweet smelling opiate, frankincense, and myrrh, the trees unlike to each other, and over and above them was the elevation of the eastern mountain at no great distance. So, all right, so pretty close by. There's the eastern mountain, but you got these trees of judgment. Okay, I don't have a grid for that. So, but they're sweet smelling, opiate. So perhaps they have a calming effect. There's frankincense and myrrh trees, so that's pretty cool. Those are pretty fragrant trees. I likewise, chapter 29, I likewise saw another place with valleys of water and never wasted. Valleys of water which never wasted, where I perceived a goodly tree, which in smell resembled the mastic tree. I don't know what a mastic tree is, but okay. And towards the sides of these valleys, I perceived cinnamon of a sweet odor. So cinnamon of a sweet odor. So the fragrance of cinnamon's in the air. Over them, I advanced toward the east. So it's a goodly tree. So it's okay. He's just on a trip. He's seen lots of trees, like I said earlier. Then I beheld another mountain containing trees, in which water flowed like Neketro. Its name was Sarira and Kalbonaba. And upon this mountain I beheld another mountain. So upon this mountain I beheld another. You get up on top of a mountain, you're going to see another mountain. Okay, that's what Enoch seen. And upon which were trees of Alva. And these trees were full like almond trees and strong. And when they produced fruit, it was superior to the redolence. Okay. Like almond trees. Like Aaron's rod that budded. All right. So very fruitful, though. Very fruitful trees. After these things, surveying the entrances of the north, above the mountains, I perceived. So I surveying the entrances of the north. Now he's going a different direction. Okay, we've been going east and west, south. All right, so now he's to the north. Above the mountains, I perceived 7 mountains, replete and pure, replete with pure nard. Oh, nard. So very fragrant to the north, 7 mountains, odoriferous trees, cinnamon and papyrus. From there, I passed on above the summits of those mountains to some distance eastwards to his north, and now he's going to the east, and went over the Erythraean Sea. And when I was advanced far beyond it, I passed along above the angel Zatael and arrived at the garden of righteousness. Whoa. So Enoch is being transported. He's above the mountains. So whether he's in some type of equipment or he's being carried by these angels that's with him, or he's just like on some type of flying by himself. Somehow or another, he's going above all these things, but he's coming to this place, and it's the Garden of Righteousness, the Garden of Eden. Maybe it's the Garden of Eden. In this garden I beheld among other trees some which were numerous and large, and which flourished there. So he's getting a glimpse of the garden. I think this is really cool. Their fragrance was agreeable and powerful, and their appearance both varied and elegant. Can you imagine the Garden of Eden? I never thought about all the fragrances, like powerful fragrances, where all you want to do is just breathe it in. Like when we're in our backyard and we've got all of our raised beds and it's just blooming, and I was in there, it's like, oh, the oxygen that's just being permeating from these plants is just wonderful. But the fragrance of the garden with all these odoriferous trees and the agreeable fragrance, powerful fragrance, and appearance is varied and elegant. The tree of knowledge was there, of which if anyone eats, he becomes endowed with great wisdom. It was like a species of the tamarind tree bearing fruit which resembled grapes. Extremely fine. That's why, earlier those clusters that I said the grapes. No, they were clusters, like that's which is on a palm tree, so like dates. Or something like that, just clusters like that. But here, and I mentioned grapes, but it's not grapes. I had read I jumped ahead and I was mixing the trees. But this is the tree of knowledge, and the fruit resembled grapes, not an apple. All right, not an apple. It was like grapes, appearance like grapes, and extremely fine, and its fragrance extended to a considerable distance. I exclaimed, how beautiful is this tree, and how delightful is its appearance. Kind of like what the serpent was saying. You've been eating all these other trees, but what about this one right here? Isn't it beautiful? Doesn't it smell good? Look at the delicacy of the fruit that's on it. And so Enoch is like saying these things, like, here, right? It's almost like the tree is enticing. I thought it was a fig. Yeah, maybe. But they're small. They resemble grapes, and extremely fine fragrance. Then how beautiful is this tree, and how delightful is its appearance. But it's like, so he's like, oh, wow, this tree will make you like God. You'll have all this wisdom. It'll make you wise. This is going through Enoch's head. It's almost like the tree is calling out to him, like the ring on the Lord of the Rings. The ring is calling out. No, I'm kidding. But there's like this intervention. Get this. There's this intervention goes on. Verse 5. This is chapter 31. Then holy Raphael, the angel who was with me, answered and said, this is the tree of knowledge, of which your ancient father and your aged mother ate, who were before you. Now think about this. Enoch knew Adam and Hawa. He did. He knew them. It says, and this is what they ate, who were before you, and who obtaining knowledge, their eyes being opened, and knowing themselves to be naked, were expelled from the garden. Oh, wow. That's a really interesting point, Tammy, when you put in there about those, about the clusters. If it's kind of like the grapes, it makes sense that the Nazarite could not partake of them because of the resemblance. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it makes me think that the fruit they ate doesn't exist other than in heaven. It's interesting thoughts. Yeah, right. The angel Raphael. It's like, whoo. That book of Tobias. I actually did a deal on Tobias. It's like in walking, like 2-3 years ago. It's been a long time. And Raphael came, and he's with Tobias, Toviahu, and Tovia, and Raphael is like his companion as he goes on this journey, and he gives remedies for healing and deliverance. It's very interesting. That book, go read it. Read it. It's really cool. So here he is. He's like, I'm here. Yeah. So don't go any further. It's good enough. That's all you need to ponder on it. Let's get out of here. So chapter 32. We have just enough time. Chapter 32. From there, I went on towards the extremities of the earth, where I saw large beasts, different from each other, and birds, various in their countenances and forms, as well as with notes of different sounds. The birds, they sound different and they look different. And to the east, there were these beasts. I perceived the extremities of the earth, where heaven ceased. The gates of heaven stood open, and behold, the celestial stars come forth. I numbered them as they proceeded out of the gates, and drove and wrote them all down, and they came out one by one according to their number. I wrote down their names, altogether their times and their seasons, as the angel Uriel, who is with me, pointed them out to me. He showed them all to me and wrote them down. He also wrote down for me their names and their regulations and their operations. So, wow, he's getting a download. I don't know all I can say. I mean, think about all the stars. If you look at the star charts, there's some star charts that have all these Hebrew names, and those names tell a story. And like when they show up in the sky, and when the constellations show up, and you look at all the different names that are in that constellation, and they have, and that the names mean things, and then they tell the story. And so in each 12 major constellations, and there's minor constellations in there, it tells the story of heaven. It tells the story of our King. It tells the story of who we are. And yeah, so I'm thinking, are they writing it down together? It kind of makes it sound like that, but then it says he wrote them down for me, their names, their regulations, their operations. So like when they show up in the sky at the various times and seasons of the years and that type of thing. So now this is getting a glimpse. He's like, this is important because in the future we're going to have a discussion about the calendar. So, all right, we have time. Couple more minutes. Chapter 33. From there, I advanced on towards the north to the extremities of the earth. And there I saw a great and glorious wonder at the extremities of the whole earth. And I saw their heavenly gates opening into heaven. 3 of them distinctly separated. The northern winds proceeded from them, blowing cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. From one of these gates, they blew mildly, but when they blew from the 2, it was with violence and force. They blew over the earth strongly. So the gates in the north. Now, I need to look that up. Maybe next week we'll get there, but I believe Isaiah talks about these from the north, where there's the cold, the hail, the snow, the rain, the winds like this. So that's kind of interesting. And chapter 34, we got another minute. There I went to the extremities of the world westwards, where I perceived 3 gates open, as I'd seen in the north, the gates and passages through them of being equal magnitude. So like they're the same size. And I can't go any further. I'm out of time. We're going to have to talk about the next gates. We got more gates. Isn't it interesting? I hope you got something out of it. I got something out of it, because I just like connecting dots as we see this. Like, what did Enoch learn that we've learned, in our gatherings and our teachings and our studying of the word. And here we see repetition of it. So anyway, pretty cool. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Walking in Spirit and Truth here on the Lamb Network. Shalom, shalom.
If you missed today's show or want to watch it again or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lambnetwork.tv, where you will find this show and all the other live Lamb Show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell someone about the Messianic Lamb Network. are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussions, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the lambnetwork.tv website. I'm Sandi Craig, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.